Great to have you with us, Bill Pito, along with Wally Zerbiak. So we talked about the high-scoring Cleveland offense in the pregame show. Pretty much decent defense through three quarters for the Knicks, but Cleveland scored 36 fourth-quarter points. They erased a 13-point third-quarter deficit, and they go on to win the game by 6.
This is a Cleveland team that's on a mission. Kenny Atkinson, the new coach that they picked up in the offseason, he has these guys playing a different brand of basketball than the Knicks are used to seeing against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Knicks have dominated the Cavs, winning 9 out of the last 12, dominated them in the playoffs. They came in here wanting to send a message that they're still a viable team and threat in the Eastern Conference. Garland and Mitchell are tough to guard for the Knicks. Knicks, a new team that's trying to figure out role allocation, who's going to take the big shots, who needs to get shots when, and the Cavaliers definitely exploited a little bit of uncertainty by the Knicks in tonight's game. Jalen Brunson, an off night, when he has an off night like this, dealing with some of the length and the shot blockers that the Cleveland Cavaliers have down low, and Mobley and company, they're going to come away with losses. The Knicks have to learn from this one. This was a tough loss.
Brunson overall 8 of 24 and 8 of 18 in the paint.
Yep.
Did the length of the Cavs bother Brunson close to the basket?
Definitely. I mean, this team has Twin Towers and Jared Allen and Mobley. And when you have shots that you normally make and you think, nobody's going to contest, all of a sudden you start seeing ghosts. And Halloween's right around the corner. And those guys with their long arms, they're somewhere lurking. And sometimes that can affect you as a shooter. Towns needs to get more looks. The pick and roll is something that we thought was going to be a good option, but they were doing a good job of switching that pick and roll, and when Jalen Brunson went up against those big guys, it was tough for him to get a good look at the basket and break down the defense. So this is one where the Knicks are going to have to go to the tape. They're going to have to learn from it because this Cleveland Cavalier team is 4-0 and off to a great start this season.
By the way, Cat tonight took only 8 shots. Came down to the fourth quarter, Wally. The Knicks were up by 4 after 3. But the Cavs won the fourth quarter 36-26.
It was all Darius Garland, too. And the Knicks had a comfortable lead for most of the game. But when you give up the momentum, when the bench came in and Brunson went out of the game, that's when the tide kind of changed. Deuce McBride tried to keep him close. That 3 cut it to 1. But more Darius Garland threes. That 3 extends it to a 6-point lead. Then the Cavs continued to get stops. Another 3, 99-91. At that point. And Jalen's going to show up in the fourth quarter, and that's what he did. He's a closer. He got some buckets to go down the stretch. Knicks were getting to the free throw line, but they did not have an answer for Darius Garland. He ran pick and roll, got whatever he want. He's a guy that's on a mission to send a message that, he wants to get some payback against the Knicks because the Knicks have dominated Darius Garland and the Cavs and company in years previous.
So Garland with 34, Donovan Mitchell had 25. And the Cavs beat the Knicks by 6. Time now to say hello to Monica McNutt. She helped to call the game tonight on the radio, ESPN New York. Monica, great to see you. What's your takeaway after watching tonight's game?
Man, I think Wally nailed it with Darius Garland, who had a terrific second half, but not even just the offensive part. I thought in the second half, particularly second half of the third quarter into the fourth, he decided that he wasn't going to be the weak link on the defensive end anymore, and he got engaged there, forced a couple of turnovers, and the Cavs were able to have their way. But to me, one of my keys going into this ball game, besides the three-point shooting, only giving up 7 threes through the first 3 quarters was solid on the part of the Knicks, but the other thing was the points in the paint. When the Knicks had their air quotes around comfortable leads at about 6 and 7 points. But when they were leading, they were also dominating the paint. By the end of the ball game, the garbage time sort of basket by Karl Anthony Towns at the end put them up 54-52 in terms of paint scoring. And so the Cavs were able to take advantage and make their presence felt in the paint in the second half. And I thought Darius Garland just had a great game.
You're right, Monica. I mean, this Cleveland Cavalier team, when you look at the numbers coming in, and we were saying, they haven't really played anyone. They played some of the teams that aren't expected to be playoff caliber teams, but their offense has been outstanding. They still have personnel that can put the ball in the basket. And Donovan Mitchell, being the second guy, still shot a high percentage. He still scored. But I think the Knicks also tonight, Monica, missed a guy like Mitchell Robinson. Remember how he's dominated the paint in the previous couple games and years against this Cavalier team, because they have a lot of size down low. And Karl Anthony Towns, pounds. He can handle one of those guys. But when you have two of those 7-footers, I think that made a big difference, Monica,
I
for
think
the
you're
Cavs.
absolutely right, Wally. Like, I think you're absolutely, and I will say that I think down the stretch, hopefully the Josh Hart shin thing is not a big deal, but I do think that sort of mattered down the stretch. There were some baskets that the Knicks had that they were right there, right? Like, there's a floater, there's the Anunoby layup, there's some plays that are right there for the taking, but they're unable to capitalize. And I just think the size overall, and when you think about it, two 7-footers who arguable, one has been an all-star multiple times, the other has all-star caliber talent. Then you got two all-star guards. Like, that's going to be a formidable team. But I think this was an early season game still for a new team. It was an opportunity to sort of make some deposits because it obviously was the most tightly contested fourth quarter we've seen so far in this season. Good things to take away from it, but I do think that pick and roll ultimately gave Jalen Brunson some fits in terms of being guarded by bigs.
Worth pointing out, Josh Hart more specifically here, was questionable coming into the game, Monica, with the bad ankle. Goes for 16 and 13. We're going to show everyone how he injured his leg. Hopefully it's not serious, but he missed the final 3 minutes of the game, and at that point the game was totally up for grabs when he went to the locker room.
Yeah, Peter, there's a couple of plays, right? This one.
His neck there.
Yeah, the neck is one, and then the contusion. That when you get hit in your shin like that, when you walk, you feel it. So let alone running and jumping, it's just kind of this pulsing sensation. So hopefully that's not anything long term. I'm optimistic that it won't be. I'm not a doctor, just trying to be optimistic and positive. But he's a presence that was important in the course of this game. He was playing great. He was active. He practically had a double-double at halftime. And so, yeah, you need a physical presence like that when you have those two 7-footers who are a little bit more lean.
Yeah, and he'll also help out Karl Anthony Towns on the boards. You know, he was relentless on the glass, had a double-double pretty much at halftime, and Karl Anthony Towns is doing a really good job manning the center position, but he needs other guys to gang rebound, help him out on the boards. They were dominating the boards for the most part for the most of the game. The Knicks were. They ended up only +2 on the board, so that was a big difference, not having Josh Hart down the stretch, no question.
All right, Monica, thank you. We'll talk to you Wednesday night from Miami. Enjoy the trip.
Sounds good.
Behave yourself.
Of course.
Josh Hart, we touched on his injury, talked a little bit about his game, but overall, he's just amazing.
Oh.
He almost, as Monica pointed, almost had a double-double at the half, finished with 16 and 13, so that's back-to-back double-doubles for him, for a guy that was questioning his role, in quotation marks, coming out of training camp. He's been fantastic.
And again, he has the continuity with this coaching staff, with this team, with Tom Thibodeau. So he's continuing to do what he did last year, just heroic type efforts on both ends of the floor, a lot of the hustle plays that you need on your home court. I just think Monica really hit the nail on the head with this game. This was one of these games where it's an early season with a couple new parts. The Knicks looked a little just uncertain of themselves at certain key moments, whereas the Cavs, they saw that, they smelled that, and they said, wait a second, we can steal this game. Knicks are a little confused with what to do on how to close this one out, despite having a 7 to 8 point lead. And as a result, when the Knicks kind of just got a little hesitant, they didn't know where to go, they missed some shots, they turned the ball over a few times, the Cavs just, Garland went, I'm taking this game over. I'm winning this game on the road at MSG, and that's how they stole this one from the Knicks.
Mike Breen made the point throughout the broadcast. Cleveland coming into this season a little bit under the radar, but they returned just about the entire roster from last year. Max Strus is hurt. They have a new coach in Kenny Atkinson. So far, so good. They're perfect 4-0.
Welcome back to HoopZone Sport News. Tonight, we're diving deep into the Knicks' hard-fought game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, where New York ultimately fell short 110 to 104. Let's break down the details of this matchup and explore what went wrong for the Knicks, what positives they can take away, and what adjustments may be needed to capitalize on their early season potential. Starting strong, the Knicks dominated through the first 3 quarters, showcasing impressive defensive intensity and scoring ability. They maintained a lead that at one point grew to 13 points, led by contributions from key players like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. But just as things looked comfortable, Cleveland's relentless offense began to chip away. Entering the fourth quarter, the Cavaliers unleashed a 36-point run, reversing the Knicks' momentum and ultimately securing their victory by 6 points. Josh Hart, impactful, but injured. One major storyline of this game was the injury status of Knicks forward Josh Hart, who was questionable leading into this matchup. Despite ankle discomfort, Hart stepped up on both ends of the floor, grabbing rebounds, scoring effectively, and bringing energy. He ended the night with a double-double performance, 16 points and 13 rebounds. Unfortunately, a late-game shin injury forced him out during a crucial moment, taking away a key defensive presence just when the Knicks needed him most. The Cavs' fourth-quarter rally. While the Knicks' defensive efforts held strong in the first half, Cleveland's dynamic offense, led by Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, posed a constant challenge. Garland scored 34 points, with a considerable portion of those coming in the fourth quarter. Mitchell added 25 points, and together they executed key plays that shifted the momentum in Cleveland's favor. Garland's performance was particularly impressive, dominating the court and proving tough for the Knicks defenders to contain. Defense and paint play, Twin Towers versus Knicks offensive setup. Throughout the game, the Cavs' Twin Towers, Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, brought both length and defensive prowess, disrupting several of Jalen Brunson's attempts close to the basket. Brunson faced difficulty navigating their coverage, finishing 8 of 24 from the field. Karl-Anthony Towns took only 8 shots, hindered by Cleveland's solid interior defense, which adapted effectively to New York's usual pick-and-roll game plan. New York struggled to match Cleveland's interior presence without Mitchell Robinson in the lineup, a player who traditionally excels at protecting the paint and securing rebounds. Missing Robinson, the Knicks relied on Towns, who performed admirably but struggled to handle Cleveland's size and reach alone. Garland's defensive push and final quarter push. Garland's impact wasn't just limited to scoring. He showed defensive intensity, forcing turnovers and effectively shutting down some of the Knicks' more crucial plays. His energy sparked Cleveland's rally, and with his leadership, the Cavs outscored the Knicks 36-26 in the fourth quarter. New York's bench rotation also faltered at times, allowing Cleveland to close the gap and eventually take over. Brunson, known for his fourth-quarter heroics, tried to bring the Knicks back in the closing minutes but couldn't completely overcome Cleveland's well-executed defensive scheme. What the Knicks can learn. This early season game against Cleveland highlights a few points of improvement for New York. First, the Knicks need more reliable secondary scoring options when key players are off the court or facing tough coverage. The absence of Mitchell Robinson also underscored the importance of interior defense depth, as Robinson's presence in the paint could have countered Cleveland's size advantage. Secondly, a more structured approach during fourth-quarter pressure will be essential. The Knicks' ball handling and shot selection need to remain confident under stress. As a new team adapting to some lineup changes, there's always a learning curve. The Knicks must focus on maintaining clarity and closing out tight games like these. Positives to take away. Despite the loss, there are positives to build on. Josh Hart's energy and Karl-Anthony Towns' solid showing at the center position demonstrate the Knicks' potential strength. Their defense was effective for most of the game, and with continued adjustments, this team has the makings of a resilient Eastern Conference contender. Additionally, the Knicks' shooting was solid, giving them a lead early on. By tightening their defensive approach to the perimeter and improving shot selection under pressure, New York could turn games like these into wins. What's next for the Knicks? Looking ahead, the Knicks have an opportunity to build on the lessons from this game. It's still early in the season, and they have plenty of time to refine their strategies. Ensuring that their defensive rotations are consistent, working on offensive versatility, and staying resilient under fourth-quarter pressure will be critical as they take on the challenges of a long season. With adjustments and a stronger second-unit contribution, the Knicks are well-positioned to learn from this and grow stronger as a team. So, Knicks fans, what do you think? Is there an adjustment you believe the team should focus on? Should they seek out additional bench depth, or is it just a matter of time and chemistry? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to HoopZone Sport News to stay updated on all things Knicks. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next breakdown.